Hello everyone, my name is Creatively Anzi or Annabel, and I'm the founder of Melanin Gamers, which is a gaming community that promotes inclusion and diversity in the video games industry. How we do that is threefold. We do panel talks to sort of raise awareness. We showcase content creators. We do tournaments as well and give talks in schools. I feel like that was 4 things, but today I'm doing the importance of networking. I really want to thank Women in Games. I am a Women in Games ambassador for allowing me to do this panel. It's been amazing and the support has been wonderful. But yeah, the importance of networking. I'm going to start sharing slides, so please bear with me. I hope you guys can see. Okay, grand. What presentation mode on? The 3 main things, 4 main things, the 5 main things. There's a lot of things that we do, but let me start from the beginning because I think that is the second one. It's just basically how to network, and I feel as though networking is it's the key. It's the key that no one tells you unlocks a lot of doors. Especially when I was starting up Melanin Gamers, meeting new people and different things. But I do have a definition here. So networking isn't exactly about exchanging. It's how this panel is going to focus on how to network, why networking is important, and how it helped me, and how I think it can help you and actually everybody else, and why we should network, and how the different ways that you can network, especially in the times that we're living in. So networking isn't exactly about exchanging information like, hi, I'm this, how are you, I'm this person, and this is how you can benefit from me, and this is how I can benefit from you. Essentially, that's technically what it is, but you don't just walk up to somebody and just say that when you're trying to network. And I wish I'd known that before when I first started MG, because it was the sort of, I guess I feel like a lot of people I've met are introverted, but networking, it's good for those people who are extroverted. You can just talk to people and it's not a problem. Someone like my sister, for example, she has a very bubbly personality. I'm sort of more withdrawn, and so I'm the person who just looks around at parties. And so networking is a very difficult thing if you have that personality trait. But in this, we're going to discuss how you can sort of overcome those things. And if you just have what you want to say ready and how you want to say it, you can get past that barrier. And now I think because of last year, I think it taught us that you don't have to be face-to-face with someone to network, you know. Networking is predominantly about establishing and nurturing long-term mutual beneficial relationships with people you meet, whether it's for your business or a future like venture that you're trying to set up. So you don't have to even if you have an idea and you think this person would be really helpful for that idea, you can form that connection. You don't have to have started something in order to say, okay, I have to meet this person now because I've started this thing. It's maybe for future things. You can just meet people and say, this person will be useful in the future. And how can I be useful to them as well? So it's a two-way street sort of thing. And networking can happen literally you don't have to be at a network. Networking events are of course crucial and important, but you don't have to network at networking events. If someone, for example, when I was at the airport, we were talking to someone, they were a game dev, and I was like, oh, we can exchange information. That can happen at an airport, it can happen at any location. You just have to be ready with, I guess, what you want to say and not make it sound so pitchy, which is what when I first started trying to network, I had my notes on my phone, and I was like, oh, so I'm Annabel and this is and then I'd look up at them and they'd be like, who is this weird person next to me? Why is she looking down at her phone? Because I had my notes there and I was like, let me just get this blurb out and then just say it to them, and then they'll understand everything and I don't have to talk to them again. Don't do that. Obviously, for someone like me who I need notes, this is what I'm going to say to you because I might get nervous and stuff like that. I feel like memorizing it would be probably the best way. Memorizing what you want to say, how you want to say it, and saying it over and over again, and maybe to people that you know, so it doesn't sound so rehearsed. It flows out of you naturally, you know, about who you are and what you want to do. And sometimes it doesn't have to start like, can I just talk to you, please? That's literally what I used to say, can I please talk to you? I know it sounds weird, but it's just, people are more receptive than you think. And as my sister always says, it's no until you ask. If you don't ask them, it's no anyway. And they could say no, but they could say yes if you do ask. So I always say put yourself out there. Let me go on to the next slide. Okay, that's basically what I was just saying is networking overview. You're going to need interpersonal skills to be able to network. That is crucial. But you don't, as I said, you don't have to be the bubbliest person in the world to be able to network. You just have to know what you want to say and how you want to say it. And that's something that you can practice, especially if you are more introverted person. So networking can still help you. And also you can network online, which is something that I find quite useful. It's a bit harder because your personality, sometimes your text personality or your messaging personality is different from your actual personality. But to those people who are more introverted, I feel like you know, sliding into people's DMs, that sort of thing, which is actually how I got a few connections. I just was like, they can just say no, and it was no anyway if I didn't ask. So I say putting yourself out there, however difficult it is, even if you have to like give yourself a prep talk in your mind, which is something I used to do. I used to give myself a prep talk. Like, I'm going to say this thing, this is how I'm going to say it, and then just go for it. But keep going for it because it's very important to keep putting yourself out. The more you put yourself out, the more connections that you can form and make. Why do we network? We network to form connections. It gives you options and things that you didn't think about as well. That's the importance of networks. It's forming connections with people that you might need in the future or that they might need you for things as well. Networking, it is generally you want things from other people, but it's also they can teach you things and you can give back to them as well, which is I feel like we're in a place where sometimes I network because I'm like, it feels, I guess, maybe arrogant to say, but you need my help. Let me help you kind of thing. Especially if you're in, I guess if you're in a charitable thing, like you see something that, oh, this could benefit from, you know, your help or whatever. Let me reach out to these people because you can see that they need you, but they don't realize it. And I feel like that is also another reason why networking is important. Paying it forward, like the amount of people that helped me when I first started, now I literally go out looking for other people who might need my help too, because I was helped so much by other people, so I want to give that on to someone else too. So sometimes you network because you feel like you have skills that other people might need. And it's not always like, oh, I have something you want to hear, pay me for this. Sometimes it's just giving back. Obviously, everyone needs to get paid too, so you know, don't sell yourself short in that aspect. Preparing to network, as I said, depending on who you are, if you're a developer, you're a content creator, having like a pitch deck ready, having a sort of a blurb or one sort of line, an elevator pitch, that's what we call it, because I'm a writer, you have to have an elevator pitch. Basically, if you were to ride in an elevator, you have to be able to say exactly what you want from someone in that elevator ride. So it's about 30 seconds. I don't know what elevator ride is 30 seconds, but it's about 30 seconds, so you have to get it all out, and not in a rushed way or in a practiced way, which is why practicing beforehand is so necessary. If you have a sort of personality where you can just do it off the cuff, that's great. But it's better to be like, this is exactly what we do, this, and that, and then be able to get it out. And I say, so to prepare previously I would say you probably need like a card saying that, you know, business card, that kind of thing. But again, because of the times we're living in, I feel like an online business card, which is more like your pitch deck, that sort of thing you need to be giving to people. This is my website that shows this. This is my LinkedIn. LinkedIn is definitely a phenomenal website that I've made so many connections there. It's really helpful. I would say if you don't have a LinkedIn, get a LinkedIn. Of course, use social media. Social media is the angel and the devil because at one end, it's really exhausting and sometimes can be toxic. At the other end, there's friendships, real life friendships that I've formed, and also business ventures that I've been able to have because of social media. So it's a balancing act. So I would say use social media, don't let it use you, because it is a helpful tool. It's a really, really necessary tool. I found some things that I was signed last year. Like this is going to make this go off script real quick. I was signed. I write as well as I do Melanin Gamers, and my book got picked up by an agent. because of a Twitter competition. There was a thing on Twitter that was happening, and I pitched my book, and I pitched it because we only have 240 characters. I had to break my whole book down into that, and they picked it up. So because of Twitter, because of social media, I now have an agent for my book to be published. So again, use social media, don't let it use you, and know when to come off social media, that sort of thing. It's a double-edged sword, but be able to make sure you utilize it to its fullest, because it is a very powerful tool. It's able to connect people worldwide. I'm in Ghana right now for events, and because of the connections I got online, I was able to come down here and do gaming events, purely all online things. So that is why it's really, really crucial when you're preparing to network to have everything that you're about. I'm not saying your whole life story, but be able to condense what you want from somebody in, I guess, 24 characters. Where to network? Anywhere. I genuinely believe you can network anywhere. As I said, the people we met at the airport. Obviously, networking events are the best places because people know, okay, we're all here to network, let me work the room. And I know that sounds like a line, but you genuinely have to work the room, not in a way where you're sliding up to every single person, but sometimes if, like, you can just observe a conversation, you know. You can do pre-prep beforehand, which is what I realized was good. Like, I know this list of people are going here. Let me search up everything. I'm someone who's quite methodical, so this is the people who are coming here. These are the handles, and I can be quite anal that way. But you don't have to be like that. That is not an approach I take anymore, because you can just get to know people as and when. And again, because everything is mostly online, things are opening up again, thankfully, but you can just see someone's handle, their Twitter. They'll have most of the information about what they're about, or their LinkedIn, and see what they're about and just say, okay, you want to network online. Networking events, I think, are the best places to network because everyone kind of knows why they're there. And so they're more sort of receptive, as opposed to, you know, just randomly messaging someone at 1 a.m. like I've done and saying, oh, I really want to work with you, please. Thankfully, they message back, but don't do that. Like, obviously, pick and choose the time, because I think social media, there's no time zones. I send emails at like 3 a.m. and things like that. But networking can literally happen anywhere and on any platform right now as well, you know, because we have online. So Discord, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, those are all places I've been able to network, and it's been really successful and useful for me. And people have networked that way for me, where they've just sent me an email or a DM, that kind of thing. Who to network with? Now, that is a crucial thing, who to network with. We all want to be networking with, I guess, to like a really big organization, like, oh, this person is you know, running Sony, I want to network with that person. But actually, sometimes it depends what you want. You know, I would definitely say it depends what you want, and how you can help them, because networking is definitely a two-way street. But I need this from you, but what am I offering? And you always have to be mindful of that. What you're offering and how you can offer it, especially if you're reaching out to like a really big company or someone who is running something really big. And maybe they're not technically in charge, you know, rather maybe there's a community manager, and they will actually be able to get you through the door easier. So who to network with? I'd also say reach out to other people who worked with someone. Like, for example, if I do an example that I did, I wanted to work with Bethesda, and I was like, how do I work? Like, Bethesda is so big, how do I get myself through the door? But I was seeing that this other person, they were liking their tweets. I was like, why are they liking this person's tweets? Let me reach out to that person and see how they got in. So that's a way you can, so instead of going straight, you know, it's the easiest path, basically. Like, the person who is working with them, maybe they'll show me how they did it. And thankfully that they did, and they helped me get myself through the door. So sometimes it's not going directly to what you want, it's going around it and then getting what you want in the first place. And also that way you can see that, are they good people to work with? You can answer all those questions before you actually get through the door, and have your research done too. Don't just like, oh, you guys are a big company, I want to work with you. What games have they worked on? What sort of platforms they do? They do any, you know, anything for like LGBTQI, BLM? It depends what your focus is and how that company has presented itself. Is this a company you want to align yourself with? You know, even if they're a big company, do they if your core values aligns with their core values, and if it does, then reach out to them. So in terms of networking, I'd be mindful who you network with as well. Mostly it's been a very positive experience for me in terms of networking. I would say like 90% it was positive, and only the 10%, some people don't answer back, which is fine. It's just like, other people can be rude because they think they, I guess, there's a lot of ego involved sometimes, so I would prepare yourself for that, which is fine because, it's human nature and some people do get an ego. But I would say plan for the, what is it saying? Plan for the worst, but prepare for the best. I don't know. I'm actually confused as to what I'm saying this. Plan for the worst, but prepare for the best. I think that is not the saying. But anyway, basically prepare yourself for lots of no's and rejections. And hopefully one person will say yes. And you really only need one person to say yes. Before I got signed, it was like 10 years of rejections. And then I got signed them. So it was just like only one person needs to say yes to you, kind of thing, depending on what you're doing. So prepare yourself for like a lot of no's, or they can't help you, or what you're doing doesn't really align with theirs. But also remember that if at that stage they might not be able to help you, but you don't have to mean that, okay, well, you can't help me, goodbye, blocked. They might still be useful to you as a contact in the future, So I would say be polite in terms of how you're talking to people and how you're reaching out to people. Someone who I worked with 2 years ago, and I was just like, oh, we could work together on this thing. Nothing really happened, but she's just reached out to me 2 days ago. It was on Monday. I think that was 3 days ago. And now we're working on a project together. But 2 years ago when we first networked, nothing really came of it. But we still kept a sort of a mutual, relationship. Hey, how are you? Let's check in every now and then. And so now we're working together. So you don't have to think that if you're not working with someone, then that's it, you drop the contact. First of all, I think that's a little bit disrespectful. It's rude. I know everyone is really busy. There's, you're doing a lot of things and handling a lot of contacts, but a check-in now and then saying, hi, how are you? It's nice networking with you or seeing you. Or what you up to, that sort of thing. It just shows that you're not just trying to use that person for that specific thing. You actually want to get to know what they're doing, that kind of thing. I'm not saying you have to be friends with everyone you network with, because that would be, I'd have like 100 friends or 200 friends if everyone I network with became my friend. But you can have acquaintances or sort of business partners, that sort of thing. My brother always says everyone's his acquaintance and he's my friends. But I feel like I covered how to network. That was the overview. Why do you network? Expand your career opportunities and or brand influence. Link to your networking skills. This is why the most connected end up with the most successful. People who like my brother and I were involved with the Black British Network. Alan, he's also part of Melanin Gamers. And we met Steph Williams, who was curating this series of Black British people and all the different things they're doing. And he's probably one of the most connected people that I know, which is why he was like, let me get on the phone with the CEO. And it wasn't a boastful thing. He wasn't trying to name drop. He genuinely, those are just the connections that he has. And because he has those connections, if he wanted to put on an event at VO2, he got on the phone to the CEO and he was like, I want to do this thing. He wanted to do this thing. He got on the phone and I was like, that is amazing and phenomenal. And of course, I'm not saying you have to have the contacts of all the CEOs, but being well connected will help you. And also, if you're well connected with people and they mutually want to help you too, they will give you other connections. I have a really good, MG has a really good relationship with Maya Madder, and Nigel, one of the co-founders, he's like, oh, would you be interested in this thing? I was talking to this people and I put your name forward for this. So something that I'm not even aware of, he's put my name forward for, and vice versa. I've just put his name forward for this other exhibition because I was like, oh, I can't do it because I'm in Ghana, but this person can do it. So being well connected, it will also reach benefit that way, where people will be putting your name forward for things that you didn't even see, which is really, really helpful if you have good connections with people. If you're networking with the right people, they will be putting your name forward because they want what's good for you and you want what's good for them. So I think that is, in terms of a relationship, it's sort of a give and take, where it's just like, I want what's good for you, even if you're doing similar things, because they are also a gaming community and we're a gaming community. And one would think that we'd be rivals, but instead, we work together. We collaborate on a lot of events, because I personally believe when we collaborate, it's better than when we're rivals, because we get more work done. And if we're genuinely for the same cause and we want to promote the same thing, then working together as opposed to get against each other will get more work done, which is why I like, as you can see on, if you look at MG's website, we're always collaborating with this person, that person, and the other, because I believe in collaborations. I think we get more work done that way. Yeah, MG has benefited from. It's also a way to gain fresh ideas as well when you network. It's a different way to think. The MG core team is the 5 of us. So it's my brother and I, Zen, Laura, and Donovan. That's the 5 of us who run MG. And the 3 of us, my brother and I, and Zen, well, from London, Laura and Donovan are from up north. And the way they think and the way we think is very different. Even the way Zen, he lives in Peckham, is very different from my brother and I. We live in West Hampstead. The way we've grown up is different. Our minds work differently. And even then, when we're having ideas for MG, sometimes our thoughts align and stuff like that. And it's just like, let's get some outside opinions. So it's really good to collaborate with someone who'd be like, actually, I think this whole thing should work that way. And you wouldn't even think of something like that. So networking and gaining people who are just like, they'll think differently from you. And that is always going to be a good thing, because you don't want everyone thinking exactly the same, because then you just churn out the same sort of thing. If people are bringing different ideas, then you have a more diverse team. And I think that's one of the things I've learned about networking, where it's just like, I was like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that, So it's really important that you do, when you network, you also network with people who, I'm not saying just go out of your way, like this person is completely opposite to me and let me go network with them. But don't just go for like, oh, they think just like me, I'm going to go for them. That probably, there's good and bad things, but I would say try to diversify the people that you network with, and have yourself be open to meeting new people. And maybe it's networking isn't, I'm just using them for this one venture, or I just need their help for this one thing. It's about just opening your worldview and things like that. And gaining more knowledge is very important, and a different way to think and a different attitude as well, which is why even us being here in Ghana, it's the way their gaming scene is vastly different from how we run things in London. And what they're able to do is it's really opening my eyes being here. So I'm really glad that we're down here, we're networking with the different people in the Ghana gaming scene, and it's just a different way to think and a different attitude that I would never have thought of, because they're calling us Westerners over here. And it's just like, there's things that we take for granted that we don't even know that we're taking for granted. So it's really important to also network with people who are not just like you, because it'll really open your worldview as well. It's also getting career advice. It depends who you network with. You could have a mentor as well, which I think is really important, or someone you network with has become like your mentor. And I would say I had a lot of people who really helped me and who were more knowledgeable of things that I didn't know. I would cite Chella and also Shay Thompson, really helpful, and just the way they were thinking and just the different things that they were doing and their attitude to things, I found amazing and really inspiring. I was like, I really want to be on that sort of energy whilst I'm doing Melanin Gamers. Okay, preparing to network. Having a clear objective. So having a clear objective as to, this is what I want to do with this group. I would say yes and no. It's if you want, like, oh, I want to work with this organization for this specific thing, but remembering that if they're not receptive to that, still keeping that relationship. But it is also helpful if you're going into a meeting. This is why I want to work with you, not just, oh, you seem like a good company, so what should we do together? And when I first started, it did feel like, I'm not utilizing these opportunities because I want to work with this person. They said yes. Now they're asking me, well, what did you want to do? And I'm just like, well, I want to work with you. but on what project, you know? I feel like having a clear thing that this is the project that we want, but we are open to new things. Being open-minded is probably, if you don't take anything away, take that one thing away, being open-minded to different things and not just having sort of a one-track mind. Of course, you want to have an objective, but if that objective doesn't work, it's not no, or it's not, okay, well, I guess we can't work together. It's maybe we could do something later down the line. It would be good to still keep in contact with you. That sort of way of thinking, I think, is very important. In terms of job opportunities, of course, networking is very useful for that. There are, and my brother probably knows more about this because he's signed up to do this coding thing, which someone else gave him, a friend of him gave him, and that was because his friend gained that from a networking opportunity, and then so that is like how the sort of the paths, they're like, it's interlinked, is what I want to say. This person gained this from this, that person gained this from this, and then they're helping you that way. So I would say that it also opens up job opportunities. I have this job opportunity for you because of someone you've networked with, and they can then help you get it as well. Okay. Where to network? Social media, Instagram. I think we covered this. In real life events, that's still happening. Instagram, I forgot. Facebook is also a good one. Twitter, LinkedIn. I would say I have all the, so Melanin Gamers has everything. We have a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, a website, YouTube, Twitch. Obviously, that is a lot to run. So you don't have to just spread your net wide, but be open to doing it. Like if you're I say Twitter and LinkedIn are probably at the top of those lists, depending on what you want to do as well. LinkedIn is of course more of a professional kind of thing. Twitter can be way more informal, but it depends how you also are as a person. You know, you don't have to be like, oh, let me be super funny and do. You don't be authentic. I would say be very authentic, because if you're trying to put on a persona of because you think this will work, that won't last very long, because it'll be difficult. You know, I feel like if you're yourself and people will take you as you are, then you can always be yourself. As opposed if you put on a persona, and that won't last very long. So, but do be open to adapting. Be open to adapting, but be yourself. Because it's difficult to be a bubbly person if you're not a bubbly person. But if you're like, I need to talk to this person, then there are steps you can take to be able to do that. You don't have to be a bubbly person to be able to network, but you do have to be open and engaging, you know, and an introvert person can still be that way as well. In real life events, hopefully we'll get there again. It was a difficult place to navigate when we were doing it in real life events, but I was still able to do it because I did prep things beforehand, like my notes on the phone. I tested how I spoke out with my brother and sister, and to the team. Does this sound okay what I'm saying? Is it all right? How I'm saying it, that kind of thing. If you need those steps. If you are like an extrovert, you probably don't, it's still good to know what you're going to say, but you probably don't need as many steps as I did. Okay, yeah, conferences and talks are the same thing. And there's even a networking, there's networking here in the Melanin Games coffee shop. Yeah. So understanding who to network with, if we go into detail about that, it's definitely dependent on your objective, what you want to do. Rank is not everything, as I explained before. And it's probably more difficult if you're just getting into, you know, depending on what you're doing, to be honest, it's hard to just like, I really want to go for the CEO of this place. You know, I want to go for right at the top. Sometimes it's easier to go for someone who isn't that high at the top, because they probably know more of the inner workings of everything than someone at the top, to be honest, you know? And again, it does depend on what you want to do. If you're trying to do a really big venture, then maybe it is easier to like, okay, we're putting on a huge project. We need the manager, that kind of thing. But again, it all depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. And remember that someone who is maybe like a junior or something might know more, might be able to get you in the door more. and might have more time as well for you. If you're trying to go for the CEO, you'll be squeezed into we had a talk with an anime studio in Japan, and the owner of it, and he had 15-minute slots for his meetings for the whole day. Everything was 15-minute slots. And I was like, 15 minutes, and we're trying to do like a full-length interview here. 15 minutes is not enough. But he was like, that's how every meeting that he had that day was all 15-minute slots. And so maybe if we'd spoken to, because I was back and forth with this PA for ages, we were sitting down, they knew more than he did. Well, not in terms of the company, but in terms of what we needed help with, because he just didn't have the time. His whole day was completely booked. So depending on what you want to do, maybe speaking to like a junior or community manager, that sort of thing, would be easier than speaking to like the CEO, because they'll probably have more time for you. Networking, online, social media, as I said, you really need to utilize those things. And yeah, I think that is everything. Okay, so I just want to talk about, before we start the Q&A, definitely value the people that you're talking to. I know networking is you want something. The whole idea of networking is you need something from somebody, or you can offer something to somebody. But understanding that this person isn't just a task. You know, I'm tasked to make sure I network with this person. Like my objective of the day, got network with you. You're speaking to like a person. You know, not just like an organization. And that's how I first started with sorry, that's kind of loud. That's how I first started. I was like, okay, I'll make sure I have to speak to I don't know, EA or something. But who am I talking to that? I'm talking to a real life person who has wants and needs and that sort of thing. And I didn't know how to, I guess, approach them, because they were like, oh, you're very, I asked for feedback when on a course that I took, and they were like, oh, you're very professional, quite clinical. I was like, oh, I'm a very friendly person, you know, but that's, I was like, I've got to be this way when I'm being a professional, and I've got to do and this is what we want, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, because there's a, I would say, read the room, or the online room anyway, in terms of who you're talking to. Some people will, because I remember when I was speaking with someone, they signed off their signature with cheers, and I was like, they said cheers, and I was looking at it for a second, I was like, that's so informal. Could we? I was like, oh, they don't have to be like. With me, it's kind regards. Okay, did this person, did that person, and I thought, okay, I can relax a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be so rigid. So I would say that when you're networking, also remember that you're speaking to real people. And I know you want something, or you want to give something, but it's just like you can build a rapport between them. I'm not saying you make friends with everyone you network, but it doesn't have to be always so professional. You know, it can be a bit informal as well, depending on the sort of person that you're talking to. Because especially if you're having a long-term relationship. And I would say someone who I've built a relationship with is Selena, who's from EA. And at first I was really formal with her. It was like, how do I talk to this person? You know? And I'm seeing her as almost the institution as opposed to an individual. So when you're networking, make sure that you remember that you're talking to an individual. And they have different things. They're working at this place that you probably want to work with or get your foot in the door, but they might be into, like, she loves her dog, sort of thing. So, and now you know different things about them, and it doesn't always have to be so rigid, basically. So do be mindful of that when you're networking, that you are talking to real people, and you can relax a little bit. You don't always have to be so like, oh, I have this mission to do, let me get it done. Especially if you're like me and you're just like, I'm a list person. I got this done, I did that done, I got that done. But I'm talking to people, so I just have to relax with it. And I guess it's all about experience. You know, I'm saying this now after 3 years of doing MG. So it was a long road to get here, but it's all about going to different ones and really putting yourself out there and really pushing through if you are, I guess, shy or something. And maybe also going with somebody else, you know, as a buffer. If you can't do it. I was always going places with my sister or my brother, because I was like, okay, they could be sort of if I'm feeling nervous, then I have them to rely on. And now I can go by myself. So I say, however, you know, whatever suits you and the sort of person that you are, You guys might all be extroverts, be like, oh, it's fine, I talk to people all day long, and it's completely fine. But just be yourself as well, and be authentic, and remember that you're talking to people. And most I said 90%, it's been positive and amazing. So that's really high in terms of the 10% that's been low. So I'd say just it's no until you ask, basically. But yeah, I think 4 minutes to go. Oh, right. So I'm basically right on time. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, please do let me know. Yeah, definitely tips for networking and getting yourself out there as well. Thank you guys for having me as well. And do be sure to check out Melanin Gamers. We're doing a lot of stuff. And I just want to thank Women in Games. I love that we're all here, doing this. It's amazing. There's a lot of phenomenal women that I've been able to work with and network with because of Women in Games. So that's another thing. It works. What I'm selling, I'm buying it too. So because it really is all of us together working together, and we can make real change. And I genuinely believe that, and I'm seeing it happen. From 3 years ago, there's already been steps that have been taken because people have been working together, people have been open. So I just want to say, also shout out to all the women here because we're amazing and we're phenomenal. I've worked with some really amazing women. I think most of the people I mentioned were women, and they've just been fantastic. So yeah, shout out to that.